Oh my god, dude, I did not let up.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing our very first wheeler walk around video. So I haven't done one of these yet. My plan is to just walk around and let the owner of all these badass wheelers that we have in the Pacific Northwest and that I wheel with all the time, just kind of talk about their build, talk about, you know, just what it is, what axles it has under it, and you know, just kind of talk about the work that went into it. So I plan to do a lot of these. If you're not a Jeep guy, don't worry, there's going to be lots of other things, you know, Toyotas and lots of stuff like that, so don't worry, lots of really cool stuff coming. As for what we're looking at today, it felt right to start with none other than my personal 93 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Alright, so where to start? Let's see, I bought this Jeep 2 years ago. Bone stock, not running, had a blown tranny, basically didn't have any axles that were usable. We got it home, found out the fuel pump was all ripped apart, fixed that, and had it running and driving in like 2 hours. And then, well, running, and then put a new tranny in it, did some axle swaps, and then just kind of snowballed from there. Yeah. So every single sensor and pretty much nut and bolt has been touched and replaced on this thing at this point. The only thing that hasn't been replaced from the actual factory or from when I first bought it is the motor itself, but I did replace pretty much every sensor on it to make sure it stayed running. The tranny I've replaced myself, the T-case I've replaced myself. It was all-wheel drive when I first bought it, and I put a 231 with SYE in it. And yeah, all the work was done by me in this garage here. You know, true backyard beater fashion. No shop needed or anything, just do it yourself, get your hands dirty and get in there. So I guess we'll start with the axles here. Up front, I'm running a Waggy 44. So this is a Dana 44, but it's a narrow track Dana 44 out of an old school Jeep Grand Wagoneer. It's got a truss on it from Barnes 4-wheel drive. It was originally set up for coils to be a bolt-in replacement for your stock axle. And I did that for a while before I moved on to the coilovers. As far as axle shafts, I've got G2 chromoly axle shafts. I've got G2 488 gears. I've got a ARB air locker, a solid diff cover. I've got Barnes 4-wheel drive high steer conversion with custom reinforced knuckles. I've got a homemade 1-ton DOM steering setup, homemade track bar out of some DOM, iron rock track bar bracket drop, and yeah, it's pretty good. In the rear, I have a Ford 8.8, also trussed. This is an iron rock off-road truss set up for a triangulated 4-link. I don't know if you can see the triangulation there and the links. Again, this was originally set up for to be a bolt-in replacement for your stock axle, so you can see it has the coil pads here and stuff. And I ran it like that for a while, again, before I did the coilovers. It's got the disc brake conversion, another solid diff cover, 48 gears, and this one is just welded, Lincoln locked. All right, so moving on to the suspension, I guess I'll crawl under here and show you my cross members. So you can see I have the Iron Rock Off-Road triangulated 4-link rear cross member. That's what bolts all of my links in. I never liked the Iron Rock Off-Road links because they all come with bushings rather than heims. I like to build my own. You can make the tubes whatever you want, as whatever length you want. You can run whatever kind of bushings and heims you want, so I like that. Up front, I'm running the Iron Rock Off-Road cross member as well. This one's a little different than what you find nowadays. This is their version 1, which was called the Critical Path cross member, which originally was meant to be a radius arm. I ran it for a while like that, ended up having some problems. So you can, I don't know if you can see very well up here, I made this custom 3-link bracket, which just welds straight to here to turn it into my own custom Iron Rock Off-Road 3-link kit, which they now sell as a bolt-in solution. But as for the links, everything is a 2-inch DOM with 7/8 heims by Barnes, I believe, either Barnes or Rough Stuff. Even my uppers are 2-inch. I know a lot of people run thinner stuff on the uppers, but I didn't, and I haven't had any problems. If you saw my last video, then you know that the drive lines are homemade as well. Nothing against people who buy drive lines. They're nice, I'm sure, and balanced, but I just don't like spending that kind of money. And this one's been working great ever since I made it. I didn't actually make the front one. I had a buddy do this one, but it's the same thing pretty much. This one's just sleeved on the inside, but same thing, just a stock Cherokee drive line, sleeved and stretched. Okay, so let's take a look on the inside at the roll cage here. So you can see I have these, I'm pretty sure these are Summit Racing in-house bucket seats. I'm not positive. I got them off Craigslist for a steal of a deal, but I see them online all the time. So if you want a set, just keep your eye out there. I've got the nice 5.3 PRP harnesses, although I don't have the 5th point hooked up yet. I got them in both front seats, and I have one in the back seat. As far as the cage goes, this is a DNC Extreme kit cage. So this kit is a 8-point DOM 1.5 inch. So this cage is a 8-point DOM 1.5 internal roll cage kit that I then took and reinforced myself because I didn't have a tube measure at the time, and it was either buy a welder or buy a tube bender, and I just felt like the welder was a better use of my money. So I bought a kit that had all the bends already pre-done, and then I went and bought a couple sticks of tube and a tube notcher, and I reinforced it from there. So basically all of the main hoops and all of, you know, the actual main parts of the cage, that's what the kit came with. And then any triangles you see anywhere on the roof line or in the back, anywhere, that was all added by me afterwards. You can see I've got my quick release fire extinguisher mount. Yeah, the cage is all through the floorboard, bolted with plates and then welded to the unibody. The entire unibody is reinforced from bumper to bumper, inside and out. All right, so let's go around here and take a look at the back hatch area. Oof, it's a little messy, I should have cleaned this up. So this is the hatch. You can see I've got my fuel cell here. This is just some cheapy plastic fuel cell that I then cut the hole in. This is a Generate off-road stock fuel pump mounting ring that I just bolted on. And then I took the stock gas cap neck. So this is the fuel filler neck that you would normally find, you know, in here. I took that off and I stuck it down in there, and yeah. So now my fuel gauge still works. I didn't have to buy anything fancy, you know, I just plopped my stock sending unit in there and I have a fuel cell. The battery has a ballistic fab mount. It's rear mounted back here to get out of the engine bay. I have a subwoofer bolted down. You can see I'm shaking it, doesn't go anywhere. Got my air hose here and an onboard air tank. This is plumbed to both my air locker as well as an air compressor that's mounted under the hood, so I can turn it on and fill it with flip of a finger. I also have an accessory line here for if I want to run air tools or something, I can. So taking a closer look at the roll cage back here, you can see this goes down to the rear shock hoops and comes up. Because I didn't have a tube bender, this was actually a shock hoop, I believe off of roughstuff.com, that I then cut in half and notched and blended right here in the middle because I didn't have a tube bender and I needed to be high enough to get over the sub and everything. Then you can see my reservoirs are mounted here inside. I do have some pretty big gaping holes down there, but you know, it's a wheeler, who cares? I got my spare driveline mounted up here because I am notorious for breaking drive lines. Not the parts that I'm custom making. The freaking U-joints keep breaking, all right? So when I did the roll cage and the coilovers at the same time, so I took some shock hoops here and I had to cut, you can see I cut all of the inner fender out and I tubbed it myself. So these is just some 1/8 inch sheet metal that I boxed it all in to, you know, keep the weathering out. And then the coilovers are mounted there. This was that tube that I was talking about a second ago that goes across the other side. And then this is the roll cage here as well. So they both come down here and meet up top. Let's talk about the rock sliders. So the rock sliders are just some 2x6 boxed 1/4 inch tube. I cut the factory rocker completely out and then welded these to the rocker. So you can see there's stitch welds all along as well as along the bottom. That does a couple of things. One, it gives me a lot of ground clearance, and two, I can just throw it against rocks now and I don't have anything to worry about. I like that a lot more than what most people do, which is they weld tube sliders underneath the rocker, which loses ground clearance, where this I gained a couple inches. So I think it's a better way to do it, even if it, you know, some people don't think it looks as good. All right, so let's pop the hood and take a look at some of the cage work under here. under the hood, you can see there's been quite a bit of change here. The entire inner fender has been completely cut out, and I cut the radiator support, and right at the very beginning of the apron, and just lobbed everything off, so there was nothing left. Did the ABS delete and everything? Did the AC delete and everything? And then I just ran some 1 3/4 Dom straight to the apron, which is plated underneath there, and then did a custom dove nose myself. So you can see the coilover mount. This is a rough stuff tower mount that I did originally to try and save space, because I didn't want to cut all the inner fender out, but it ended up happening anyways. So it is reinforced, I mean everywhere. The entire unibody is plated, and then as well as just tubed out, so it should be pretty stout at this point. Here you can see my locked off-road bump stops. These are the 2" by 2" stroke bump stops. I'm a big fan of these. They work freaking awesome at the dunes. I mean, I can completely bottom out the front end of this thing and I cannot feel it at all. So up front, I'm running some 2.0 Radflow coilovers. I bought these used, and then I had them rebuilt just this summer when I ended up bending one from an accident of jumping. Maybe I'll cut to that. So they're both freshly rebuilt and full brand new internals and everything. So I'm really excited to get them back out to the dunes and see what the ride difference is. In the rear, we're running some 2.5 Fox coilovers. I bought these basically brand new from a guy off of Facebook Marketplace. They have the remote resis. These are not the internal bypass coilovers. I wish they were, but my goodness, guys, they work so good. It's incredible. You would not believe how smooth this thing is in the dunes. It's really good. So I guess we can talk about the core support here and the winch mount, because that was a bit of a project. So I took the factory core support completely out to where there was nothing left, and then I welded in this. I believe this was 2x6 1/4" box tube, just like the rock sliders were, and I welded that straight to this as tight as I could. You can actually see in here I had to clearance the grill to even make room for the winch, because I wanted it as tight as possible. I didn't want it sticking out really far. I wanted a good approach angle. As for the headlights, these are just some CSI house brand lights, I'm pretty sure, but they're pretty bright. They're nice and sleek and tight up in there. You can see the clearance here with the winch controller is real tight. And then some Amazon light bar or something, nothing fancy. So I'm laying back down on the ground here, and that's to show you my Ironman off-road steering box brace. So a lot of people don't realize that is a very critical mod, in my opinion, on these ZJs. I personally have ripped off 2 steering boxes off the frame. They just, you know, the unibodies flex too much, and I think they just give way. They're weak. So Ironman Off-Road makes this fantastic brace, which not only, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. Nope. Which not only clamps the steering box and prevents it from the ears from being ripped off, but it also supports the sector shaft, so you don't shear that off too. And after I put that on, I have not broken a single one, and it's been like a year of pretty gnarly wheeling at the dunes and rock gardens on 40s, so I'm very, very impressed. All right, so let's talk about tires and wheels for a minute here. So this Jeep has seen lots of different tires and wheels throughout its life. Currently I'm running some 17-inch Pro Comp Steelies with some DIY Total Metal Innovations beadlocks. I welded them myself. I've been pretty happy with them so far. And then they are wrapped with some 39 5-inch IROCs. And I mean, they're IROCs, what can you say? They just freaking work. so future plans for this thing. I have lots that I want to do, but first and foremost, the thing that I'm currently in the middle of is a 1-ton swap. So the 1-ton swap, yeah, that's currently going down. I picked up this high pinion Ford 60 and this 14 bolt. Both of them I've already tossed Artec trusses on. It's getting full hydro. You can see the ram and everything is already over here. I've already got that all picked up. It's getting 538 gears, another ARB locker, RCVs. The rear is probably just going to be welded, but it is getting a disc brake conversion, a full shave kit, and then it's going to 42s. So it should be a game changer. I can't wait. It's gonna be something else. Alright, so that's my Jeep. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking around. If you liked what you saw here, I plan to do a whole bunch more of other rigs. It's not going to be just Jeeps. There's going to be Toyotas, Wranglers, I mean all kinds of stuff. So if you're into this kind of stuff, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.